So hello, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you're having a great day so far. I'm really pleased to introduce your next speaker, Jon Speer, who's the founder of Greenlight Guru, and he's going to be talking to you about how to create and scale a true quality culture at your medical device company. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Angela, and to LSX. It's a real pleasure to have an opportunity to speak to you all today at the World Congress. Let me tell you a little bit about myself before we dive into the presentation today. I've been in the medical device industry for over 22 years, and during that journey, I've had awesome opportunity along the way to design and develop products, to implement quality systems, to provide regulatory strategies, prepare regulatory submissions, and then, of course, in current role, founder at Greenlight Guru, the only medical device quality management system software platform available in the world today. It's a platform that has been designed exclusively and specifically for medical device companies by actual medical device professionals. So I would encourage you at some point to go check out what we're doing at Greenlight Guru. Just visit our website, www.greenlight.guru. But we do a lot of content, a lot of education, a lot of information. We do webinars on a consistent basis. We have the #1 podcast in the industry as well, the Global Medical Device Podcast, as well as ultimate guides and all sorts of other content and articles that can help you in your medical device journey. But I want to talk a little bit today about some of the learning objectives, some of the things that I hope you pick up from the presentation today. I want to talk about what true quality means, how to incorporate this as part of your culture, and why this matters to you as a medical device company. Talk a little bit about the competitive advantages of this true quality mindset, and why this is going to be an asset to you and your growth of your company. We're going to talk about some tips and pointers about creating that quality culture. Hopefully you already have it, but maybe there's some tips and pointers that we can provide. And then talk a little bit about how this is important, especially in 2021, all this emphasis on being risk-based and that sort of thing. And I think this plays a huge role in your company's success. So a good place to start is, what is a true quality culture all about? Why does true quality matter? Some key questions to think about. And I think probably a good place to start is talking about the cost of poor quality from both a product and a process perspective. And I know a lot of times this is a phrase that we hear from time to time, and sometimes companies may or may not have KPIs or systems in place to actually measure this. But I think, at least from a philosophical perspective, you can understand the cost of poor quality. Talk about it from an external perspective. I mean, if you have products with issues, quality issues, well, first and foremost, patients' lives could be impacted. And that's something that I think is very important. It's sort of my North Star, or my guiding principle, if you will, as a medical device professional, is focus on improving the quality of life. What can I do? What part can I play in doing that? And that's been something that's been important to me throughout most of my 22-year career. I'll have to confess, early on when I started in the medical device industry, it was a job. I didn't understand the magnitude and the ramifications of my part in this community. I had an experience early on in my career where I was present for the first clinical use of a product that I had designed and developed, and was involved in the testing and and all the things that to bring that product to market. And there was a moment during that procedure that I was observing where a product that I was involved with was being used, where it really clicked for me. It resonated. It's like, oh my goodness, that's a real patient, a live human, about to receive the product that I was involved with. And you know it was important. It was like an epiphany, if you will. And so from that moment forward, it's like, okay, improving the quality of life is key. It's important. It's my mission as a medical device professional, and I suspect many of you have similar feelings. But think about it from what could go wrong from a device perspective. Patients are important. For sure. But what does this do to your brand? What does this do to your image within the industry? You it's hard to get out of a situation like if you have a product that is causing some sort of failures or adverse events or what have you. This is a stigma that can be attached to your company and your brand for a long time and hard to address in that sort of perspective. So really think about this from an external perspective. You also need to think about it from an internal perspective. If you're manufacturing products and maybe your yield isn't quite what you would like, what are the costs of that? Are you doing a lot of rework? Are you scrapping things and that sort of thing? So lots of different ways where cost of poor quality, unfortunately, can creep into the day to day, both from an internal and an external perspective. This is why I think investing in true quality and good quality practices is really important from a business perspective. Having the right tools and systems and monitoring in place will help ensure that your products and processes are as high quality as they can possibly be. This is an industry, as I related a moment ago, where patients' lives are at stake in many cases. So, that being perfect or being correct and making sure that every product that's produced and shipped to point of use is the highest quality is it is our objective. It is our call to action to this industry. So there's some things you can do from a design and from a product perspective, making sure that you're understanding the use case of your product, incorporating those users into that design and development activities, making sure that you have clear objective criteria and testing and things of that nature, and making sure that the information that you're capturing during the design and development process gets accurately and precisely transferred to manufacturing. Make sure that communication and that handoff from development into manufacturing is as smooth as it can possibly be. There's some other things you can do to help you from a prevention standpoint. I mean, and specifically like on the area of like a quality system, I think a lot of times quality systems and their intent gets a little maligned at times, and other times I think we look at it as the set of rules, all the things that we have to do from a company perspective. It's an interpretation of all the regulations that are impacting us as a medical device company, and sometimes we look at a quality system with dread rather than with anticipation and excitement. But you think about it this way. I mean, a quality system, it truly is intended to help define and describe how your business operates. And yes, it is important to factor in all the regulations that do impact your business and all the markets that you're in and that sort of thing. But a quality system should be something that works for you. You shouldn't be working for your quality management system. And a lot of times companies, when they put their quality systems in place, they find that they're actually working for the system rather than the system working for them. So there might be some opportunities to reevaluate. But think of the overall quality system. It is basically at least the way I look at it, is it's kind of a control scenario, if you will, where there's certain steps in your system that you're going to go through the total product journey and total product life cycle. But there are moments in time through that where there's a feedback mechanism, and I think making sure that those feedback processes are robust and proactive is really going to help you ensure that you have true quality throughout your company. Things like making sure that your internal auditing program is thorough and robust and effective. That's a really great mechanism and an example of how that feedback can go back into improving your overall quality management system. So keep those things in mind as you're incorporating and investing in good quality initiatives. So as far as benefits of true quality, I mean, we talked a moment about the cost of poor quality. Well, what's the benefit of good quality, and how do you measure that? Well, I mean, if you're getting higher yield in your manufacturing processes and less scrap, I mean, that means higher profitability for the manufacturing of your product, higher quality devices that you get into the marketplace. You're going to have a lower issues with complaints and adverse events and things of that nature. So, there's intrinsic value in focusing on true quality. You're going to increase your profitability. You're going to probably in turn increase your revenue that you're able to generate because you have good quality products that have great brand reputation in the marketplace. And ultimately, you're reducing risk, and risk from a lot of perspectives: risk to patient, business risk, product risk. All these sorts of things are factors in that. So lots of things to think about as far as how true quality can be an asset and a benefit to your company. So let's think about that a little bit, though. Let's go through maybe a brief example. So, company A, they proactively invest in good quality. They implement the processes and procedures and the important KPIs and metrics to monitor what's happening within their systems and their processes and their products and their business. Whereas company B, decides, hey, let's just, maybe that's not as important. Let's just don't worry about that right now. And you can see that in this, high level example, that from a company A, the company that invested in true quality, they had less external failure cost. They had lower internal failure cost. They actually do have higher expenses with respect to monitoring, and because they're making sure that their systems are robust and set up in such a way that they can effectively monitor what's happening. And they do have higher prevention costs, but there is an old saying: an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I might have messed that statement up, but I think you get the point. That being proactive and making sure that we have the right controls in place within our business. Yes, it is more expensive than the alternative as far as cutting corners and things of that nature, but the downstream benefits are well worth it. I mean, you can see company B in this example, they didn't invest and they saved some money on monitoring costs and they saved some money on prevention, but they're paying for it with the internal failures and the external failures. So let's talk about some tips that might be helpful to help you create and scale a true quality culture. So tip number one: define and outline company values. So what's important to your company? I mean, at Greenlight Guru, the things that are important to you, to us, is it's that our mission, frankly, is to focus on improving the quality of life, and we want to make sure that we're providing products and services to our customers, medical device companies, to help them, with compliance, but also simplify the process and streamline the process and give them mechanisms to help ensure that they have some controls in place as they're going through design, development, risk, document management, change management, and also throughout quality events, things like campus complaints and audits and things of that nature. So these are all workflows that are built within our platform to try to provide value to our customers, the medical device companies. But it's important. We've thought very intentionally about the value that we can provide our customers, and I encourage you to do the same thing. And I think sometimes we maybe underestimate the importance of that value. I mean, you may be thinking about, well, we have, product ABC and it does this and that sort of thing, and sure, that's great. But how does that fit within your entire company's ecosystem with respect to what's important? And if you keep those values or you define those values and you do a great job of communicating those values throughout your organization and their quality based values, then this is something that your team, your resources, your company, your employees, people can get behind that and align to that. And that's one of the things that we do at Greenlight. Everyone in our company understands our entire value chain, what it is that we do, how we support the industry and that sort of thing. And I would encourage you to consider something along those lines for your business as well. Train employees in quality culture. Um, culture is I've like, and as I stumble through this statement, I'm just thinking back throughout my 22-year career, and there were some stops along the way, some places that I worked where the culture and quality culture was important, frankly, and sadly, there were some of those stops where quality culture or culture in general was not important. Um, but it is so key. I mean, culture is one of these fuzzy, ambiguous terms that can be a little bit hard to describe. Um, but you know it when it's good, and you know it when it's bad. But think about it, it's how people feel within your company. Feelings and emotions are so important as part of this human experience. And if you are able to get a team and a group of people within your organization to feel good about what you're doing, and understanding the value that they play in bringing your products to market, and maintaining those products in market, that is really important. Because and I'll share a short story. Many years ago, I worked for a company, and one of the things that was part of the new hire orientation process is they shared a video, and they had people who worked at the company on this video, talking and taking pride, frankly, in their craft and what they did to manufacture medical devices. And a lot of people said, I would be proud if the products that I worked on were used on my loved ones and or my family, and that sort of thing. And I think that's something to really think about. Is you know you never know when somebody is going to need a product that you provide. It could be somebody that you love. It could be you. And I think taking some pride and really making sure that everybody understands the importance of your mission as a company and how your products improve the quality of life. I think that's really, really key. The third tip is, I and this one's tough, to be quite frank, but try to focus on quality, instead of just focusing on compliance. And I think it's tough because I think for a lot of years, if you've been in this business for any period of time, we're subjected to audits and inspections, whether that be FDA or ISO auditors or some other regulatory body. And those moments in time are often, feel like, sometimes interrogation. Sometimes they feel like we're just going through sort of a checklist to demonstrate, this compliance. And I think a lot of times companies have structured their practices, their systems in a way that satisfies the audit or the inspector checklist, if you will. And there this yes, compliance is important, but I think we got to rise above that. And I think this is one of the things that focusing on quality, it allows us and we'll take care of compliance if we're focusing on quality first and foremost. But kind of rise above it. Just understand your ecosystem, understand the benefit of a quality system, and how it could be your business operating system, and really help you to ensure that your products and processes and the metrics and the monitoring that you have in place will yield better results at the end of the day. Tip number 4, document management is like foundational. There is an old adage, you all probably have heard this, and you're probably about to roll your eyes, but the old adage is, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. And that is important to think about, because everything that we do, certainly as a medical device company, that's critical to our business. We need to have good documentation practices in place. And so this is foundational. Even if you're at the very beginning of your journey, the things that you're doing as a company, the things that you're doing need to be captured and documented and recorded, because there's a good chance that you or somebody that you work with or an auditor or someone along the way is going to have to access that information and understand what decisions were made and why those decisions were made. So really important to establish this framework from the beginning. Tip number 5, communication. I mean, this is always a challenge. It's there, and there's always opportunities to improve upon our communication. inside and outside our businesses. But you know, today in 2021, what I find to be very encouraging and interesting is that the paradigms that we have in place with working with regulatory agencies. Well, let me back up. Back in the day, there used to be a contentious relationship between medical device company and regulators. It's almost kind of this throw it over the wall sort of thing. But today, what we're seeing, and this has been the case for a bit now, is there's good collaboration between medical device company and regulators. FDA, notified bodies. There is we all play a part in this. Regulators and medical device companies, we all play a part in improving the quality of life. And I think, fortunately, regulatory bodies are starting to and industry are starting to realize there's intrinsic benefits in having a good collaborative relationship and good communication, because we're all stakeholders in this. So just keep that in mind. Regulators are here to protect and promote the health of humans that are going to be receiving the product. So they have an awesome responsibility to make sure that what you're doing is safe, make sure your products are effective. And that's really the intent behind that. Even if, at times it feels like, oh my gosh, they're making me jump through all of these hoops and create all these extra use cases and testing and blah, so on and so forth. It can feel that way, but remember their role in the value chain of the medical device industry. Number six, the end user feedback is so important, and I think it should start really early when you're going through design and development. Um, you know, find the key opinion leaders, find users who are going to be good resources of information, and include them in your design and development process. But once you launch your product, continue to solicit that feedback. Don't wait for it to come to you. I mean, you'll get plenty of feedback, for sure, if you wait, but waiting for it is reacting. And when you wait for it, it could create some challenges. It means that something has already happened. So if you're proactive and going out and soliciting this feedback, this is a way to be preventative in nature. You can learn about things before they become big problems, and incorporate those into design improvements and changes into your products and processes. Step number 7, or tip number 7, right sizing a quality management system. What in the heck does that mean? I think so many times I see companies, and it kind of goes back to the compliance comment that I shared a moment ago. Uh, they architect their quality system to comply with regulations, but the quality system, again, is becomes something that's a burden and an obstacle and a challenge, and it hasn't been designed with intention. So I would encourage you to establish quality system it's absolutely a must-have. It's something that is part of what we need to do as a medical device company. But there's ways that you can architect your quality management system intentionally, so that again, it's helping you, that it's not working forcing you through certain hoops and challenges, but it's giving you an opportunity, it's enabling you, and that sort of thing. And right sizing a quality management system is important. There are lots of factors. How big is your company? Where are you in that journey? uh, how complex is your product? Are you working with a lot of suppliers, like contract manufacturers and things of that nature? So there's a lot of art that goes into this, and I would encourage you to consider right sizing your quality management system. Now, one of the things that drove us to start the company Greenlight Guru back in December of 2013 is what we were observing at that time is there's a lot of fragmented, disconnected tools and methodologies and approaches that companies were implementing, and it created a lot of challenges, a lot of unnecessary challenges, quite frankly. This is part of the reason why we've built the Greenlight Guru medical device quality management system. It's designed for you, the medical device company. It aligns with regulations, 820 and 1345 and UMDR and Part 11 and 14971 and all those things that are important to us as medical device companies. We've incorporated those requirements and those regulations into the workflows, So just the very nature of using the Greenlight Guru system will help you on your compliance journey and give you an opportunity to better focus on true quality. So again, I would encourage you all to go learn more about the Greenlight Guru medical device quality management system. Go to the website www.greenlight.guru, request your demo. We'd be thrilled to have a conversation, understand what your specific needs are. And Angela, any questions that might have come up today?
Yes, please. And Jon, just thank you for that. I really, really enjoyed that. And I have to echo your comments talking about how the entire company at Greenlight really embodies the value of the company. I have had the pleasure of working with some of your staff recently, and that passion for what you guys are doing really shines through. So it's nice.
Thank you.
So a question that I had is when you're talking with organizations, do you often find, or do you ever find that there's differing perceptions of the organization's priorities and practices between leaders, managers, individuals? And how do you manage a quality culture in that circumstance?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a terrific question, and unfortunately, it is a true scenario all too often. Um, I think what has happened is a lot of we've gotten busy, as companies, and I think everyone's kind of got their own things that they're trying to focus on, like whether engineering's got to do this and regulatory is focused on this and quality is there. So what we've managed to do, and I don't think it was intentional, I think it was an unfortunate byproduct, is we built siloed organizations, and we're not doing a good job of crossing the aisle and communicating and understanding what's important from different perspectives. And this is, I think it's really key today. And this is one of those I think elements to success for a company that really wants to get their quality culture game in order, is you got to figure out how to communicate effectively inside your business. You got to cross the aisle. You have to listen to people. I mean, like, my upbringing or early years in the industry was focused on product development, and I understood product development. And sometimes I'll admit, it's like, oh my gosh, those quality people, why are they making us fill out this checklist? They didn't understand what we were doing, but they were the ones charged with defining the practices. And thankfully, in that scenario, we got everybody in the same room and we talked about it. We understood. We were listening to one another. And so that's really important, I think, for companies to incorporate that.
Great. And then as a follow-up, you talked a little bit about how quality can impact a company's valuation and brand equity. Why is that? And have you seen that in companies you've worked for or with?
Yeah, I'll start with the startup perspective. So a lot of startups, they're like on this mad dash to try to get their product to some meaningful point in the life cycle, whether that be through a regulatory submission or ultimately to market and that sort of thing. And sometimes in that quest for the mad dash, there's this feeling like, oh, that quality system, yeah, we'll get to it later, or that design history file, okay, we'll deal with it later. Right now, we got to stay focused. And I appreciate the focus. I appreciate being mindful of where you're going, or at least that moment in time that you're trying to get to. But you have to be mindful of what happens next and what's going to go on after that. And a lot of startups, I think their objective is future acquisition. And you got to think about it. Put yourself in a moment in time in the future where you feel like you've hit that milestone that is going to position you to be attractive to a potential acquirer. Think about it from their perspective. What are they looking at? I mean, if they're another medical device or anyone that's going to acquire it, frankly, they're not only are they going to acquire the benefits of your product, but they're going to also acquire the risk that you took as a company. And compliance is important, and if meeting the regulations and being in good favor from an audit perspective or from a regulatory body perspective, that's table stakes to being in the medical device industry. And if that acquirer is taking on your baggage, all those things, those shortcuts, those corners you cut, all those things you decided you would get to later, they're gonna they're going to factor that in when they're making a valuation on your company. So I think that's really important to think about from a startup perspective. I mean, it's also, you know, just in general, I mean, companies who have a history of quality issues have they have challenges from their revenue. They have challenges from their valuation. So it's really important to think about, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Jon, thank you again for a really wonderful presentation. And I would encourage anybody listening who has questions for Jon to follow up directly on the partnering system. I'm sure it's going to generate a lot of food for thought amongst all of you out there. So coming up next, we have a keynote presentation from the FDA looking at bringing innovative medical technologies to patients. So please hang around for that. And thank you once again, Jon.
You're welcome.